The AMI AXXIS Tiltrotator is a valuable tool for any operator that's looking for that ultimate dexterity. I'm beside the AXXIS Tiltrotator, and with me is product specialist Caleb. We're going to be discussing some of the big benefits, some of the componentry that make this special, as well as the configurations, options, and then some of the attachments that go really well with a tilt rotator. Now, it's a big investment regardless of what size of excavator that this would go on. And it's important to really understand what the differences are, what the benefits are, and how the tilt rotator can really improve your productivity. Caleb, give us a snapshot of why would I get an AXXIS tilt rotator on my machine?
Yeah, great question. It is a big investment. With an AXXIS tilt rotator, you're getting improved job site efficiency. The tool itself may qualify you for jobs that you may not have been able to have done before. It will also reduce your labor costs, and that can in turn mean increased job site safety.
So, in a nutshell, tilt rotator, obviously it tilts and it rotates. Walk us through those functions and what that means for the attachment that is underneath.
Yeah. With an AXXIS tilt rotator, you're getting 360-degree continuous rotation and about 50 degrees of tilt in both directions. We use a helical actuator to operate the tilt function, and we use a oil-bathed worm gear for the rotate function. And then we feed additional auxiliary lines through the unit to the backside so that you can run any kind of hydraulic attachment below it.
So let's focus on the tilting function first, because that is the obvious and most noticeable difference between the AXXIS tilt rotator and any of the other tilt rotators that are on the market. There's no cylinders.
Yeah.
So one, tell me about what this means and how it works without cylinders. And then also, what is the tilt range for this?
Yeah. The tilt range is 50 degrees both ways. Without cylinders, you're getting three primary advantages. First, the unit is a lot more compact in general, and this means that you can conceivably dig a trench with it. It also means, though, that the unit is a lot more durable. So we've done a good job at recessing a lot of any remaining components into nooks and crannies on the unit. And then everything that's delicate is encased in a cast iron housing, which is itself durable. Without those cylinders hanging off the side, you don't have to worry as an operator about knocking delicate componentry. Instead, you can focus on the job at hand. And then the third thing about no cylinders is that you have reduced maintenance. You've got far fewer grease points. You only have to replace the oil once a year. And the unit has virtually no downtime because you don't have to worry about breaking anything.
Now, one of the major advantages of this style of helical actuator versus cylinders is the difference in torque.
Yeah.
Can you explain what torque, how that applies in this setup versus hydraulic cylinders?
Yes. Actuator uses oil flow to pump a piston through essentially a corkscrew. And this is what's driving the force of the actuator. Now, because it's coming from a single point, that force is equivalent regardless of what angle it's operating at. With cylinders, be that one on one side or one on either side, because of the design, you actually do get dead spots where the force is not equivalent as to what it might have been at another point. And this is important because if you have the attachment positioned in a perpendicular position to the machine and you're doing a swipe or a grade motion across, you're dealing with differing forces depending on where the tilt angle is.
So that is a real benefit that an operator would notice out on the job site.
Yeah, that's a real life application that you would notice.
Okay, let's move to the rotator. All tilt rotators do a continuous 360.
Yeah.
What's different about this one?
We use an oil-bathed worm gear. Essentially, it operates like a screw that you can drive forward or backward. And this in turn operates a large gear inside of this housing, which has a large gasket on the bottom side. And this is all bolted together sandwich style. Makes for a unit that is essentially maintenance free.
So this is encased in oil. Is that the big benefit of that it is maintenance free because it is always lubricated?
Yeah, just about everything that moves on this unit is encased in lubrication all the time. It means that you don't have to grease it, but more importantly, that all the components last a really long time.
So beside us is a tilt rotator with the bottom coupler as a wedge lock style. Now, one of the unique things about AXXIS tilt rotators is that you can get the tilt rotator in this wedge lock, a pin grab, or an S lock or symmetrical lock. Walk us through some of those differences and what that means for the operator.
Yeah, the wedge lock here, you can see, uses the pin bosses to position the attachment to the coupler itself, and then a wedge lock system drives with a cylinder this wedge against the backside of the lugging to pry the attachment in tight to the coupler. Now, depending on what region you're from, you may not be familiar with this style. There is also what we would call a symmetrical pin grab style, which uses pins mounted in the attachment to attach the unit to the coupler. The coupler itself has two hooks which pry against the pins to keep it in snug tight to the unit. Now, a symmetrical pin grab is called a symmetrical pin grab because the pins in it are the same diameter and the same size. But we do offer hydraulic pin grabs, which will pick up your existing attachments even if they used to be pinned directly to the linkage system. One of the primary advantages of an AXXIS tilt rotator is that we can configure it to match whatever attachment lugging system you have. So if you're bringing this product into a range of attachments that you may already have purchased, we can configure the bottom side to pick those up. Now, we can do that with the bottom coupler itself, or even we can put the identical lugging type on the top of the tilt rotator. And so this means that if you have a coupler system on the machine already, you can use that same coupler to sandwich the tilt rotator on, and then also pick up your existing attachments on the bottom. And this makes for an extremely versatile system in that you can drop the tilt rotator when you want your breakout force back, or you want that reduced tip radius.
The AXXIS tilt rotator is available in 5 different models, according to different excavator sizes up to a 200 class excavator.
Yeah, 20 ton.
20 ton excavator. Some of the options that are available across all the models include the integrated gripper.
Yes.
As well as GPS control.
Yes.
So let's talk about the integrated gripper.
Yeah.
How does that fit in, and what's the value of adding that on?
Great question. The gripper bolts onto the unit around the backside of your coupler. And what this allows you to do is pick up small objects even while you have an existing attachment coupled to the bottom of the rotator. This adds a lot of versatility in that even if you're scooping material, you can also take that quick break to use the gripper and move an object out of the way or replace an object depending on what you're doing.
In terms of GPS control, that's a big thing in shaping and sloping.
Yeah.
How does the AXXIS tilt rotator integrate with GPS?
Obviously, the AXXIS tilt rotator is a great shaping tool, and GPS systems are a part of that. We don't offer GPS systems themselves. What we do is we offer a compatibility package to match up to your existing GPS grade control system.
One of the questions that we get a lot is, what do the controls look like? Do they work with the controls that are in the cab already? How do I move this thing with all this new functionality to it? What's the solution there?
Yeah. AMI supplies 2 brand new joysticks for your machine if you get the Knox Prop Plus grade, system. These joysticks are going to maintain your existing functionality, so everything that you used to be able to do with your old joysticks, you will be able to do with the new joysticks, except now they'll come with all of the controls you need to operate the tilt rotator itself, including the attachment below the tilt rotator that you might be using. On top of that, you're going to get a user interface screen that we would mount inside the cab, which you can use to customize the controls and to specify to the machine what kind of hydraulic output it needs to do in order to operate your attachments properly.
Not only does AMI have the tilt rotator, which is great, and now this replaces a tilting bucket because you can now tilt or rotate any attachment that you want below the coupler here.
Yes.
AMI has quite a few attachments already that really work well with the AXXIS. This is a tilt rotator style ditch bucket, but it would also work with a standard digging bucket.
Yep.
And then unique to AMI Attachments is their jawbone bucket or grafter bucket.
Yes.
How does that work with the tilt rotator, and what are those benefits?
Yeah. Obviously, the tilt rotator adds a lot of distance to your tip radius. And what I mean by that is this up here, your stick pin is the pivot point for the tilt rotator for your attachment. Often this negates the ability to use any kind of thumb with the unit. As a replacement or as a substitute, now you can use our jawbone or our grafter bucket to keep that thumb essentially in system, have all of your old functionality that you might have had with the thumb, but now you've got additional versatility in that you can tilt and rotate that thumb in whatever position you may want in conjunction with the bucket.
Other attachments that would work well with this is just simply a bypass grapple, as well as a grading beam, which is really great for that final finishing and sloping and just shaping your material exactly the way you want around different obstacles and making everything smooth.
Yep.
Great. Well, the AXXIS Tiltrotator, along with all AMI attachments, come with a 2-year limited warranty. So when you are buying one of these, you have the backing and the service and the support of AMI Attachments as you do with all of their products. So that's a great vote of confidence for if you are looking for a tilt rotator. The AXXIS Tiltrotator is a great option. It's got the best tilting degree of 50 degrees in both directions in the market. It's got the 360 rotation encased in an oil bath through a worm gear, and it's got a variety of attachments that are ready to go. So I think that's it. Did I miss anything, Caleb?
Just that we've got an awesome team behind the product. And so when you get one, we know it's a big investment. We stand behind our product. If ever you have questions or concerns, we're going to be there for you.
Sounds good. You're welcome to reach out to AMI Attachments at any time. You can call the company at 1-800-556-9452 or reach out to your local dealer. We work with all the major OEM dealers out there, and their representative can get in touch with the territory manager for AMI Attachments, and we can discuss all these configurations and options that would work best for you. Again, if you want to check it out, you can always look at the website at www.amiattachments.com. I think that's it for our walk around today.
Yep.
And thanks again for all the insight you gave us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your time.